This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, everyone? One more time from Dallas. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. And we've got a big show today. Unfortunately, the trip has been great. It's had everything except for a Jets win at American Airlines Center. And that one last night felt like it was a very winnable game. I mean, the Jets, sounds familiar. I'm saying the same thing I did after game 3, maybe even more so in this case, that, the team played well enough. They were in the game, but, obviously Jake Ottinger winning the goaltending battle and a special teams deficit has led to a 3-1 series deficit, which means the Jets have their backs against the wall and will be playing to stay alive tomorrow night in the whiteout at Canada Life Center. It was a game that, I thought the start was much better for Winnipeg being in the building compared to even the previous game and the games in Dallas and certainly the games against the St. Louis Blues. But once again, it was special teams that got them behind the 8 ball. I thought, listen, we can get into, and we'll dive into it a bit more. Ken Wiebe is going to join us a little later on about some of the penalties that the Winnipeg Jets have taken. And I know there's been some arguments and some people didn't like the Fleury call. The Dylan DeMello penalty in the first period is just unnecessary. It's careless, and it just put it on a silver platter for the Dallas Stars to take a lead in that hockey game. And then the goal itself, is one that Connor Hellebuck's got to have. And when you look at the special teams and, Jake Ottinger getting the best of his teammate from Team USA, it's pretty simple why this team is down 3-1. It wasn't that they played a really poor game. I think the shot attempts in the game were 72-45. But when you're giving up a couple power play goals and you're doing nothing on the power play, it's tough to win hockey games. And that's why I had a quiet walk from the arena last night as opposed to whooping it up with the other Jet fans that made it down to Dallas, hoping to see the team get at least one win in these 2 road games and a 2-2 split coming back to Winnipeg. But the team moves on. It is not over. I know there's a lot of people that say that it is, but you might want to check the math, people. It takes 4 wins to win a series. Dallas has 3 of them, and 2 of the final 3 are scheduled for Winnipeg. The question is, how many of those games will happen? There's only one guaranteed, and that is the one tomorrow at Canada Life Center. So we'll dive into last night's game. We'll hear from Scott Arniel as well as Connor Hellebuck. Now, Arnie is back in Winnipeg right now, speaking at Canada Life Center right around now. Ken is going to join us in about 45 minutes or so. So we'll see what Coach Arniel had to say. We'll dive into this series and what the Winnipeg Jets have to do better in game number 5 to make sure that that was not their final game at American Airlines Arena and they can force a game 6. Dennis Bernstein is going to jump on as well. Be interested in his thoughts from outside of the market on what he's seen from these games so far in the Winnipeg-Dallas series. And we'll also talk about 2 big games tonight, a 2-2 series between the Panthers and Leafs with game 5 in downtown Toronto. And, of course, the Edmonton Oilers with an opportunity to knock out the Vegas Golden Knights at home, which is the exact same situation the Dallas Stars are in. Vegas, Winnipeg, the Washington Capitals, not in great spots right now, but it's sports. That's why they play the games, and you're not out until it's over. But obviously looking pretty bleak for those three teams who, first and foremost, have to win a hockey game and get back on the road to Game 6. Of course, all three teams, Winnipeg, Vegas, Washington, had a home ice. They weren't able to hold serve, and they weren't able to win on the road. And that's why they're in the situations that they are in. We'll bring in Michael Remis in just a minute. Do want to thank all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada and Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, Rolly's Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, and St. Vital Dental Center, Let's Do It Travel, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs, live racing, day 2 goes tonight. We'll get our picks later on. And, of course, Breezy Bend. We will get to a Why Not question of the day for all of you from not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and chop it up with fan feedback from fansfirst.ca. All right, let's get this show on the road. Get Michael Remis in here. Of course, you can, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the post-game reaction video up on Winnipeg Sports Talk and the podcast feeds with Remo and our own Connor Rabchak. What's going on, Reem? How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling good today, Huss. Brushing off last night's loss and ready to get at it here. And yeah, getting a lot of positive comments from Stars fans on last night's video. A lot happier with us for the Game 4 reaction than Game 3, where we lost it on the goal that didn't, or the allowed goal after the review. So nice to see so many people checking out our post-game reaction, and looking forward to more reaction here on today's show from last night's game.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's tough. I mean, being in the building for both of those games, you saw the way the teams played. I mean, listen, I think this is what actually is a little scary about this. As much as we're talking about Winnipeg has another gear 2 or 3 to get to, when you encompass the entire team, goaltending, special teams as well. I got to say, I think there's another gear or 2 for the Dallas Stars. Like, I'm not sure either of these teams, with the performances that we've seen through 4 games, would be faring very well against an Edmonton Oilers team right now that seems to really be rolling and coming off one of their best performances of the entire playoffs in game number 4. But you can't worry about that now. It's about the game and in some ways the shift in the period in front of you. And, for Winnipeg, the start last night I thought was exactly what they needed. But man, that first goal that went in, and I know Mike had tweeted this out. I can't remember. I think it was Sportsnet Stats that put this out. It's the 11th goal from distance that Connor's let in so far this playoff series, and that's basically won a game. And with the margin for winning and losing, when you're talking about the best 8 teams in the National Hockey League that are still standing, those can absolutely be killers. And it really felt like it was a deflating one last night because of the way the team was playing. And, and then all of a sudden you're down 1-0. I mean, listen, I hated the penalty that DeMello took. I mentioned that right off the bat. But again, in a series like this, where you've got a goaltender in Jake Ottinger that's playing at a very high level, we're still waiting to get that vintage Connor Hellebuyck. We saw it in game number 2, but that has really been it, Reem. And listen, I'm going to say this right now. I tweeted it afterwards. I understand a lot of people were killing Helly last night, and were negative about him online. And listen, it's totally fair and it's totally justified. But this is still the franchise player of the Winnipeg Jets. And listen, if he's not at his best or playing close to his level, it's going to be difficult to win. Do I think that that's possible? Absolutely. I saw a great stat from Garrett Hull for all the people dumping on Hellebuyck and saying that he can't win in the playoffs. Hellebuyck had like a .918 or .920 save percentage in his first 35 playoff games. And Remo, I know Marat did some digging on this, and at 5-on-5, he's actually been quite good, but it is these power plays. And again, that was not your typical power play goal, the first one from Granlund on the hat trick yesterday. But I mean, they all count. And there's a couple that I'm sure he would have liked back to help just put his team in a better situation. And listen, this is a great team that they're playing against. It is a tough building to win in. And the blueprint for success for the Jets on the road is not getting down as they have in these last 2 games.
Yeah, I did enjoy Garrett putting out that number, Hellebuck 921 save percentage for his first 35 games in the playoffs. That's for the Hellebuck has never got it done in the playoffs comments that I see frequently, which, while that may be true for the last couple years, it's not true for his entire career. And Murat put this in some great numbers from Murat in The Athletic today. At 5-on-5, Hellebuck's save percentage has been better than Ottinger, 918 versus Ottinger's 913. But it is special teams. And these are the two areas where the Jets, you thought, had an advantage coming into the regular season in goaltending and special teams. Goaltending, you have Connor Hellebuck, Vezina winner, and he's probably going to win it again this year. And you had special teams, number one power play in the league. And, they've scored one power play goal in this series, 1 for 16. And again, the goaltending, Dallas has scored 4 power play goals on 8 shots. And the Jets have had 24 shots, and Ottinger has saved 23 of them. So for me, that is the difference. The game last night was about as good of a road performance that you could ask for, especially from a Winnipeg Jets team that has now lost 9 straight road playoff games, but they couldn't finish. Kyle Connor in front off a great pass from behind the net. Ottinger saves it, and they come back down the ice and score on the odd man rush. And then again, Kyle Connor shorthanded breakaway, can't put it past the far pad, and they come down and, shot off the post. Heiskanen passes it to Granlund, who rips in. Those 3 shots from Granlund, they flew off the stick. I think the first one, you'd certainly like to have back. Hellebuck called it a perfect shot after the game, but then said he needed to see the replay again. But I know you want to. Hellebuck's numbers overall not great, but I do think special teams hurting them when it was a plus this year, and depth scoring hasn't really been there. Well, no one has really scored. It's been Nikolai Ehlers who's got 3 goals in this series. Another one last night. I thought he had a pretty strong game. But you're not, a guy like Vlad Nemestikov, who's so good in round 1. He's kind of, regressed back to the mean here in round 2. And, in the middle 6, they just haven't really had the goals. So, 3 goals in 2 games in Dallas. Regardless of who's in net, you're not going to be winning games that way. And Scott O'Neill noted that after the game. So I think certainly disappointing being down 3-1, but if you take it one game at a time, can they win Game 5 at home? Absolutely. Could they snap this road streak and win Game 6 in Dallas? And Game 7, I think anything could happen. So not out of it yet. I did agree with Elliott after the game, saying the Jets are the best, or the team with most likely to come back down 3-1 than some of the other teams involved. So Dallas, they're pretty good. Their stars are stepping up, and it's time for the Jets stars to step up here in Game 5 and on.
Yeah, it's tea times if they can't figure out a way to get that done tomorrow and get this series back to Dallas. Overall, and I know you guys talked about this yesterday. I believe Connor brought this up. That game last night kind of felt, in some ways, very similar to game number 1, where the Jets carried the play for a good portion of the game. Had some great chances, weren't able to score on enough of them, and then it was a Finnish member of the Dallas Stars that went off for a hat trick, and that was the difference. But this time it wasn't the Moose, Mikko Rantanen, it was Mikael Granlund, who got the Stars going with that goal from distance on the power play on Connor Hellebuck. And then, the other 2 goals, certainly the third goal was just an absolute laser that, was just too good. And, credit where credit is due, you tip your cap. And I thought that the shot that he made on that 2-on-1 was brilliant. Does Hellebuck make that save sometimes? Sure. But that was world class. But it was the way that started with that first goal, and I think coming off a really careless penalty by Dylan DeMello that sort of put that team in catch-up mode. But at a 2-1 game in the third period, Hayden Fleury takes that double minor. The Jets do a great job on the penalty kill up until 3 seconds left. But before that, you mentioned, Remis, the breakaway by Kyle Connor on Jake Ottinger. You couldn't ask for a better opportunity. And if that goes in, the boost that you get from tying the game shorthanded, potentially getting another power play opportunity later on, which of course they did, it's an entirely different game. But I mean, listen, this we've talked about it at this level. The margin is so thin, and if you don't make the most of your grade A opportunities, and Dallas is doing that, it's pretty easy to see how we're at a 3-1 series deficit. But I do have to say, I mean, that was a game that I think Scott Arniel will take from his club more often than not against an opponent like the Stars on the road. But again, they have had some pretty miserable luck. I mean, the finishing hasn't been there, and a few pucks that have been going in that don't normally do that. And that's the difference between this being a tied series or maybe even the Jets being in the position the Stars are in, heading back to the peg.
Yeah, you would take this road game, every time. The deserve to win a meter has it for the Jets on Money Puck, if you're going by that. And you mentioned finishing. Marat putting this number in. So the Winnipeg Jets power play in this series, a 4.2% shooting percentage. That's 24 shots on goal with 1 goal. The Anaheim Ducks, who had the league low shooting percentage on the power play this year, 8.2%. So that's half the number. You'd like to think that at some point, these power play opportunities are going to go in. They've had a couple looks. I don't think it's looked as good as it did in the regular season, Huss, especially without, when they started off without everyone back. But they've had everyone for a couple of games. You have Morrissey, you have Velarde, you have Ehlers, Scheifele. This is a unit that was number 1 in the NHL. You got to be better than 1 for 16, but I thought they outshot. They put pressure on Dallas. This was a game for them to win. You mentioned game 1. Well, in game 1, it was Mikko Rantanen with the hat trick, outscoring the Jets. And last night it was Mikael Granlund with 3 lasers, the shot from the distance, the 2-on-1, and then the power play one-timer. So nicely done by Dallas. And Mikael Granlund was the trade deadline acquisition from San Jose, making a huge impact for them in game 4.
It was interesting to see Scott Arniel sort of, I don't want to say pull a fast one, but certainly keep his cards close to his vest. I mean, we were led to believe after the morning skate that it was business as usual. They were going right back with the same lineup. And people, listen, some people wanted big changes. Some people thought that this was the lineup that gave them the best chance to win. And then all of a sudden, the puck drops and you see that Luke Schenn is in the lineup. Colin Miller is out, but the lines were completely shaken up. You had Alex Iafallo playing with Scheifele and Connor, Gabriel Velarde with Adam Lowry and Nikolai Ehlers, Metsnikov in between Niederreiter and Perfetti, and then Mason Appleton moving down to play with Morgan Barron and Brandon Tanev. I thought Tanev had a really strong game. He was everywhere. It was incredibly engaged. And, man, I thought Morgan Barron had some great chances. They got the puck to the front of the net, those areas that goals were scored, and just were not able to make it happen. But I said Remis yesterday, I mean, one guy, outside of the netminder that I was looking to step up that they needed was Nikolai Ehlers, and he obviously was the lone goal scorer. But on that new look line with Velarde and Adam Lowry, I thought he was the guy that was probably the most dangerous Jet last night, outside of Kyle Connor, who had a couple great chances but just could not bury, as we've talked about it. So you're seeing some of that playoff back and forth between the head coaches. It was interesting to see how it went. And as I say, I thought that many of the changes that he was looking to see, bore out on the ice. The problem of it, of course, was that they didn't get enough goals to win the hockey game and now are at 3-1. Now, listen, we're going to hear from Coach Scott Arniel and Nikolai Ehlers in just a moment. Let me thank Rolly's Transfer for the great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Family owned and operated in Winnipeg for over 60 years. The most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Head on over to Rollies.com and click on Request an Estimate if you've got a move coming up, and put in the promo code WST for a 100% for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies on your next move. And then just tell them when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved. They'll turn it around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rollies is famous for. Rollies Transfer. Find out more today at Rollies.com. I didn't have a big smile on my face after the game yesterday, but we got to get the smile back and get ready for a big Game 5 tomorrow down at Canada Life Center. Speaking of smiles, if you want to get your smile worked on, whether it is a checkup, a cleaning, or something like dental implants, St. Patel Dental Center has it all. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with free parking, conveniently located right in the back of the building. And we'll be handling customers moving forward from 6 months all the way to 99 plus. For all your dental needs, head on over to St. Patel Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his staff will take great care of you. Tell them WST sent you. You can find out more online at stpateldental.ca and make an appointment there. I'll tell you what, I probably could have used a CC cooler after the game last night. Didn't have any here in Dallas, but with the crazy weather that we've had, it feels like summer. Might not on May long weekend, but the good thing is you can still have the great beverages of summer because the new mixer pack is out for Canadian Club ready-to-drink coolers. You can see it now, the 12-pack with 4 CC and ginger ales, 4 citrus smashes, and 4 half and halves, which is like an Arnold Palmer. Half lemonade, half tea, along with the best of Canadian whiskey, ready for you on sale now throughout the month of May. So if maybe you're going to be doing a little bit more indoor cocktailing this May long weekend, make sure to pop by your local Manitoba liquor marts, check it out, pick it up, and along with the iconic Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club since 1848. And speaking of May long weekend and the upcoming summer, many of you are getting those campers ready, those boats ready. Well, you know what you need to start the summer? You need batteries. Now, do not waste money and time at the big box stores when you've got a local option like Manitoba Battery waiting for you, where you'll save up to $50 a battery. Keep your money locally and get the best service in town, bar none. For all of your battery needs, it pays to shop at Manitoba Battery, and it'll also save you time as well because we know you're busy. Donnie and the gang will deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. But they do have 2 locations now, the original location on Logan Avenue and the new one on Dovercourt Drive. For all your battery needs, pop by, see Donnie and the gang in store or shop online today with free delivery on purchases over $60 at ManitobaBattery.com. All right, as we continue to dive into the Game 4 loss here in Dallas that has put the Jets on the brink. 9 straight road playoff losses dating back to 2023. Scott Arniel spoke after the game and was simply asked, what do you say to your guys after a game like that, knowing that if you lose another hockey game in this series, the season's over?
And we always talk, obviously. Again, I thought we played a good hockey game. We had 70 shot attempts and scored 1 goal. We're not going to, if we can't find more than 1 goal, we're not going to win hockey games, especially against this hockey team. So I liked a lot of what we did 5-on-5. I liked a lot of the opportunities that we created. I loved our first period. We got off to a great start, had them hemmed in, had some great looks. Ottinger made some big stops. But like I said, we had 70 shot attempts. We got to get more than that, more than 1 goal off of those. Maybe that's, driving harder to the net, finding those rebounds, screening, whatever it is. We've done it. We've done it in the past, and we got to find a way to do it next game.
All right, so Reem, there was Scott Arniel, and he's right. I mean, they did have a nice start. They played a really solid first period. They gave up that 1 power play goal, but then came out of the gate in the second period, with I guess a minute power play. Didn't score, I guess, technically on the power play, but right after that, Nikolai Ehlers scores, and at that point, the team was feeling really good. And I had a couple texts, and I said this to the guys that were with at the second intermission. How are we losing this game? I mean, it was one of those games that felt like it was right there for the taking, but you look at the scoreboard, and unfortunately, it didn't reflect what I think a lot of Winnipeg people thought that there was a potential for it to be.
Yeah, just in that first period, the Jets, almost through the whole period, outshooting Dallas 11-5. They had the chances, but Dallas just needed 1, and they were able to capitalize. The Jets did tie it up early in the second period, and I thought had a very strong second after scoring. They did have a power play opportunity I didn't think they got a lot generated there. Velarde had one chance in front, but after that, they brought a couple of chances. Barron, Hayden Fleury. The Jets were out shooting Dallas 15-6 midway through the second. And, it was eventually, toward the end of the period, Mikael Granlund with his second of the game. But there were chances. It was, and right before it was Iafallo finding Kyle Connor. Hellebuck did make some big saves on Wyatt Johnston and Jason Robertson, but I thought the Jets took the play to Dallas for the first two periods, but Dallas just needs to capitalize on their chances, and the Jets were not able to. So certainly disappointing result, but I thought as far as road games go for the Jets, this was easily their best one. I guess that's a pretty low bar here, but road, as you said, Jets on the road, 9 straight losses dating back to 2023, outscored 45-14 in that span. And now it doesn't matter how many you give up. You're not scoring, 14 goals in 9 games. That you're not going to win. You're not going to win like that. But I think, people want to point to, okay, what's the one reason why? Say, oh, it's the goaltending. Well, I think it's a combination of everything. It's never just one thing here.
No, for sure. Listen, I mean, you're not going to win very many playoff games scoring 1 goal, but you do have a chance to do that. And we'll get to Arnie on Hellebuck in a minute, but here's what he had to say about the blender coming out, heading in and shaking up the lines.
Thought it was great. Worked out good. It matched up well. All the lines had zone time. They all did a great job in the sense of, it was different because, Dallas went 11-7, so kind of knew what the change was going to be for them. And for us, I thought all our combinations had a lot of opportunities. We just didn't put the puck in the net, and that's at the bottom line. This time of year, you got to find a way to score goals. They're not going to be pretty. They're probably going to have to be ugly ones, and we're going to have to find a way to do that. Like I said, you put up 70 attempts there. You got to get rewarded, but that means you got to work a little bit harder if it's not going in.
All right, so there's Scott Arniel on what he saw from the new look lines that were rolled out for Game 4. Here's what he had to say about his netminder Connor Hellebuck in number 37 in the pipes.
Obviously, he probably wants the one back in the first one, the wrister coming in. Man, the one on, that 3 seconds left on that 4, that was an unbelievable kill by us. Gives that shot. I mean, it's a CNI dog. That's a heck of a shot. I mean, right under the bar from the short side. But at the end of the day, we got to get him some run support. He'll do his job. We got to get him some run support. We got to get him a lead. We got to get out in front, make this team chase us instead of us chasing them like we have in the last couple of games.
So, Arnie, listen, I kind of feel the exact same way. I mean, that first one hurt, but man, they battled back. They evened up the game, and they just weren't able to get anything after that, despite doing a lot of good things that more often than not will probably result in more than 1 goal. Problem was last night it wasn't good enough, and this team is now down 3-1. Here's one more from Arnie on just the message to the players down 3-1, heading back to the whiteout tomorrow.
Don't lose your last game. Real simple. Don't lose your last game. So it's all about what's happened at home. Get our crowd in behind us. I don't care if we're homers, but we're going to have to go home and win the next one so we come back here. So we got to get the job done. Focus in on this next game, Game 5. That's what it's all about. Work to make sure that we get ourselves back here to Dallas for Game 6.
Yeah, pretty simple. Win a hockey game and give yourself the opportunity to break this ugly road losing streak that still hangs over the team coming back from Dallas after 2 missed chances to get win number 2 of the series so far. This was interesting to hear Hellebuck after the game last night. I don't know. Maybe Ken can tell us when he jumps on the last time Hellebuck spoke after a loss. But he was requested, and he came out and spoke afterwards. And here's what Helly first off said about that Granlund first goal.
I need to review it. His stick snapped into our guy shin pad, but I got a clean enough look. It was just a damn perfect shot, just above my pad, below my glove. I don't know. I need to review it. See it again.
All right, so there's Hellebuck post-game. Obviously hadn't seen any replays of it yet, but, he described it as a perfect shot. I mean, given the circumstances, I guess it was. But as Scott Arniel said, he probably would like that one back. Here's Hellebuck on the mindset for he and the team heading into Game 5 tomorrow in the Peg.
Just win one game. Leave it all out there. I leave it all out there every night. I doing my best, and sometimes it's a heartbreak, but all it takes is one little change, one little bounce, and things can start going our way. And we're a good team, so we can really rack them up, but we just got to worry for one at a time.
Listen, I know some people have some fun with that comment, but I have to admit, I think that is accurate and appropriate for last night. I mean, it is one little bounce, a millimeter, a centimeter there that could be the difference between a save or a goal. And that was a game with a very, very thin margin between winning and losing that unfortunately the Jets were on the wrong side of. One more from Hellebuck, and just talked about his emotions after the game.
Well, I mean, this is pretty raw. It was playoffs, and it's been, maybe 5 minutes since the end of the game. So every loss is frustrating. That being said, I'm just really looking forward to the next one and going to leave it all out there.
All right, so there's Connor Hellebuck. And Reem, listen, I mean, composed afterwards. I mean, you could tell he used the word heartbreak. I mean, I think he's feeling it. I think he's searching a little bit for it. I mean, I'll be honest, and maybe this was being a little too optimistic, but I mean, the performance that he put forth in game number 2 to get the team back to even with a shutout against this high-powered Dallas Stars team, it seemed like he was on the verge of kind of reemerging as the best goaltender in the world. And as I said, it was 2 steps forward, I think, for Hellebuck in game number 2, kind of 1 step back here in Dallas. But I do appreciate him stepping up, speaking after the game, and you could see he said it was raw. I mean, it is emotional. They know they're in a very, very tough situation, and this is a guy that puts a ton of pressure on himself, and he's feeling it after the game.
Yeah, he's Vezina Trophy winner. You'd think that he'd be able to steal a game or 2 in the playoffs. There's still time left to do that, but he's had too many games in the postseason with a negative or even goal save above expected. You look at last night, he's minus .76 as per Money Puck, and Jake Ottinger was 2 goals saved above expected. I wonder which two those were, but it's certainly tough. As we said at the start of the show, the strengths of this team in the regular season were an elite power play and elite goaltending, and those haven't been the strengths for them in the playoffs. And finishing, not there for the Jets last night. It was there for the Stars. Played a great road game, as you've seen some stinkers here, especially in the St. Louis series. This wasn't that last night. Scott Arniel noting about 70 shot attempts on goal. Some of these have to go in, but Jake Ottinger showing, what did he say to Sportsnet in the intermission? That's that he wants to win the Stanley Cup, but his number 1 goal is to be the starting goalie for Team USA at the Olympics. I'm not sure if that was a dig at Hellebuck or not, but I did enjoy Hellebuck saying they have to lay it all on the line here in Game 5 on Thursday.
Well, I'll say this. If Hellebuck wants to be the starting goalie again for Team USA at the Olympics, I mean, I'm not sure that this, like right now in May, is going to be the determining factor for something happens into the new year. But you know that it's going to be taken into consideration. And the series is not lost. They still have an opportunity to win a game and get back to Dallas, and then hopefully create a 7th game head-to-head showdown like he had against Jordan Binnington in round number 1. But the sand's running down in the hourglass for the Winnipeg Jets, and they're all starting to reminder to make that happen. As I mentioned, Ken's going to join us a little later on. We've got some Nikolai Ehlers to play for you as well. But coming up in just a moment, Dennis Bernstein is going to jump on the program. And this segment is brought to you by Ben Moss. Ben Moss is proudly Canadian-owned and operated with history dating back more than 100 years. 3 locations in Winnipeg: Polo Park Shopping Center, St. Vital Center, and Kildonan Place. Committed to customer satisfaction, check out a large selection of Canadian mined diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mined diamonds available with payment plans to suit your needs. For more information, you can see them in store, and of course, you can check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, for the love of jewelry. Well, the jewelry that the Winnipeg Jets and the other 8 and the other 7 teams that are hanging around in the Stanley Cup playoffs are looking for is, of course, a Stanley Cup ring. 3 teams in the second round with home ice advantage now facing 3-1 deficits coming back home. The Jets are one of those. Let's welcome in Dennis Bernstein from the fourth period to join us for a little Stanley Cup playoff talk. DB, what's going on? How are you?
Oh, what? Oh,
Hold on a sec, Dennis.
He's
got to
good now.
make sure that you're good. Dennis, what's going on? How are you?
Keep hope alive, Hustler. I'm doing great. How are you, bud?
Well, I'll be honest. It was a depressing walk out of American Airlines Center yesterday here in Dallas. It was a game that, we were looking for the Jets to step it up on the road. And, I really think both of the games in Dallas, in Game 3 and Game 4, they played better. We saw some new look lines last night that Scott Arniel, I think, got what he was looking for out of them. But, unfortunately, the special teams has been a real negative for Winnipeg, which is a complete contrast to what it was all regular season. And listen, you can't really sugarcoat it. Jake Ottinger was the better goaltender last night again, and now the Winnipeg Jets are facing elimination. What did you think of last night with no skin in the game?
I think the deciding factor was the goaltending. Jake played the way Jake needs to play, the way he needed to play last season in Game 6 against Edmonton. So that was the defining factor. And, the Jets have taken a lot of penalties. I think they've taken the most penalties, Hustler, in the playoffs this year. So it's just the game changes, it's such a different game. And it's not that the Jets can't come back and win 3 straight up against that team, getting Heiskanen back. It's a massive climb for this team right now because they've played well. They just haven't been the better team in all facets of games. And that's why they're down 1-3.
Yeah, you mentioned the penalties, and the penalties have been really problematic because they have had a tough time killing them. That, of course, does, and listen, Murat laid it out, the 5-on-5 save percentages, Hellebuck's actually got a better one than Jake Ottinger. But when you're taking some careless and sometimes borderline dumb penalties and just handing opportunities to a high-powered team like the Dallas Stars, they'll take those opportunities and they'll make you pay, and that is what certainly happened last night. The Heiskanen story is actually amazing. And listen, I think they were going to ease him in. I didn't catch what his ice time was last night. Looked pretty good, though, Dennis. And just from a hockey perspective, what an amazing story that this young man is back in the lineup considering the knee injury and the surgery that happened just in February.
Yeah, that's 3-4 months ago. And he's back playing. And I agree with you. You can't – it's not like when Doughty came back. When Doughty came back, they said the same thing. They're going to ease him in. I think the first game he played 25 minutes, and then he averaged 27 minutes. And he only averaged 24 in the playoffs, but they went up losing. So it's a great story. These guys are warriors, hustlers. So every penny that they get playing this game, I don't ever begrudge them because it is a great story, and it makes a tough team even tougher now. They went 11-7 last night. I love Pete DeBoer. He's we go 11-7, just gives more time for Rantanen on the ice. That's the way he spins it. So this is a deep, dangerous team that a lot of people thought could win a cup. They're showing you why, especially because the one facet I don't trust about the Dallas Stars is still the goaltender, even after last night, because I've seen him fail in big spots in others in previous seasons. So we'll see how it plays out in Game 5 back in Winnipeg.
Yeah, listen, it's a what have you done for me lately business, and
totally.
It's cruel, but it's all about results, and you can put a historic season like Connor Hellebuck did. But if it doesn't happen in the playoffs, that's what people will be remembering right now. Yes. The good thing for Hellebuck is that, obviously he and the Jets have been a much better home team than they've been a road team. Mm-hmm. And if you get that win, knowing what you're facing, there certainly is no tomorrow if you can get it to a Game 6 in Dallas.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Hustler. They say it's cliche, but it isn't. You know what the Jets have to do? They have to go home and win a game. It's as simple as that. You can't worry about coming down from 1-3, what the percentages are. I think it's 91% of the teams that go up 3-1. You can't worry about that. You can't worry about the odds. You have to worry about playing your game, playing a better game. And you're right about the penalties. Not only do they have trouble killing them, it kills momentum offensively because you're having to kill penalties and you can't get any momentum offensively. I think that's one of the reasons it's been hurt. But you know what? Focus on winning in one game. Take your chances in Dallas in Game 6 and go from there.
Yeah, you mentioned, and listen, it was an unfortunate penalty for Hayden Fleury in the third period,
Sure.
but you get that double minor while the team is pushing 2-1, and you have just an absolutely outstanding penalty kill. The best chance for the first 3 minutes and 50 seconds of that was Kyle Connor on a breakaway. And I mean, if that goes in, we could be having a very different conversation today. But then Michael Granlund, who was on one last night, completes the hat trick with an absolute laser in a perfect spot. And, it's amazing. You speak of momentum. The momentum, it really did just sort of seem to, certainly as a Jet fan in the building, very, very deflating to have that happen, especially considering the stakes of last night's game.
And especially the way the one goal went in for against Ottinger. Going, okay, that's a goal that Jake Ottinger gives up in the playoffs from a bad angle through the 5-hole. They go, okay, here's an opportunity now. But you're great. And look, here's the thing. Jim Nill, brilliant, right? Remember, a first and a third for Granlund and Ceci, who are pivotal players for this team right now. That's why he was back-to-back GM of the year, right? It's players like that show up in big spots that, the Jets were trying to defend Rantanen as best they can, but to have this guy come back and bite you with a hat trick, it shows you how deep and dangerous the Stars really are.
And listen, there's a lot of talk about what the Jets did and didn't do at the trade deadline. We knew they made a massive push for Brock Nelson. Were unsuccessful in getting him. He ended up going to Colorado. Didn't help them enough to get over the Dallas Stars. But what's interesting about that Granlund-Ceci trade is that wasn't really made at the deadline. If I recall correctly, that was maybe a month out, maybe more before the deadline.
I think more. I think it was like around January. It was before Four Nations, I think. Yeah. So
they, identified that need and jumped on it early because, listen, it's easy to Monday morning quarterback all of this stuff, especially when it comes to trade deadline acquisitions. But once we got in and around that deadline and things were going great for the Winnipeg Jets, I don't think they were under a huge pressure to make that deal any earlier. The problem, though, was, Dennis, that the actual supply of the market just wasn't there. And once Brock Nelson was traded, you had Lawton basically going from Philadelphia to Toronto. I mean, that's not really a second-line center. The market didn't have very much on that, and that's what made losing out on Nelson, I think, so tough to handle for Winnipeg because there wasn't really anywhere else to pivot with guys like Granlund who had been on the move more than a month earlier.
100%. And, Chevy's made a lot of great moves, and you can't fault them for that. You're right. It's about supply and demand, and Colorado stepped up. Now, when you look back at it, if the Jets don't do the trick and wind up not advancing for this round, you're going to say, all right, they need a second-line center. We knew they needed him early in the season. They did it last year when they went out and get Monahan. So I can't criticize the guy because there's only one. There was one of one, and you lost out on him, and you move forward. Now, is this team good enough to beat Dallas without Brock Nelson? I think they are. They just haven't made enough winning plays at this point.
There's plenty of series where you could look at 3-1 that could easily be 2-2. This is one of them.
No question.
It doesn't matter when you get to Game 5, and the Winnipeg Jets are going to have to step up, be better, find a way to win, as you mentioned, and see if they can get over this ugly run on the road. I will say this, Dennis, for a team that was so good on the road this season, it is crazy just that they haven't been able to find a result in any of these opportunities, and now a 9-game road losing streak dating back to previous playoff runs.
And you would think through that stretch, you're a really good team. You're going to get a bounce. You're going to goalie the other team. The other goalie's going to be bad. Whatever. They take a bunch of penalties in your power play. You can't find one thread to get you a win. It is crazy. And that's why the Stanley Cup playoffs are what they are. And that's why they're the greatest. That's why I don't want to change anything about them, because the unexpected always happens. Look at the other series in the West. Connor and Leon, they're at the top of the scoring chart for the playoffs. They haven't wrecked either series. You know who's been carrying this team? Corey Perry and Evander Kane and John Klingberg. I thought John Klingberg was retired. What? It's so crazy. So when you look at trends and look at regular season and try to transpose it to success in the playoffs, you can't do it. Yeah, there are trends. Yeah, some players playing good, but you really can't. You can't guess what's going to happen, and that's what the unexpected always happens. And with respect to losing 9 straight on the road for this team that was so great in the regular season on the road, it's inexplicable.
It really is. Hey, while we're staying in the West, you mentioned Edmonton, Vegas. I was doing Lock Shop earlier with Dustin Nielsen in Edmonton, and he asked me my thoughts about this game tonight. And I think this is a huge chance for the Edmonton Oilers to really, show up with some killer instinct and end this one. And I think a team like Edmonton that knew how grueling it was to get to Game 7 of the Cup Finals will have full knowledge of the benefits of ending a series like this early. And listen, you have to admit they are coming off one of their best performances of the postseason, a complete team win that included, of all things, a Stuart Skinner shutout in game number 4. But the Vegas Golden Knights have a championship pedigree, and I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. Thoughts on this matchup tonight and the stakes right now for game 5? Because what's interesting about all three, the Carolina, the Edmonton, and the Dallas Leads, all three of those teams did it by winning a game on the road and then holding serve at home. Only one of the final 3 games are on their home ice.
Well, with a Winnipeg connection, I couldn't resist texting Gary Lawless after the last game saying, "Congratulations, you just got shut out by the worst goaltender remaining in the playoffs." So
that one, Dennis.
He did not handle it very well. He just gave me a thumbs up. He wouldn't even respond. So all the time he chirped me all season, he couldn't fathom a witty response. So look, they made them look old and slow. That's what Vegas looked like. They looked like old and slow. The highlight for Jack Eichel, as much as I love Jack, and in another season I said he could have won the MVP, he was a traffic cone on the overtime game-winning goal. That was his highlight. Where's Thomas Hertl? He looks like he's 37 years old or 47 years old. He looks really slow out there. He hasn't done anything. And yeah, I just there are trends in the playoffs, Hustler. And the way both teams are trending, I think Edmonton's going to win tonight. And it may be relatively easy because of the ease in which they won that game. Like Vegas, look, if they lose to you, they usually make it hard on you. They never made it hard on Edmonton. Like, this is a team going in the wrong direction. Now you got to question the age. Did they really miss him? They talked about all year about not mentioning Marchessault. Think they miss him now? I think they do. So the moves that they made, even though they're a very aggressive team, and I think most fans would want GM ownership like the Vegas Golden Knights have, but right now they're the second best team in that series, and I wouldn't be shocked if Edmonton closes it out tonight.
Yeah, listen, I was actually really surprised at how Game 4 went. Just that, Vegas obviously had a rough start at home, but to get a gift, win
a gift
the way they did in game number 3. Just knowing what we know about the Vegas Golden Knights, how opportunistic they are, I kind of felt like they were going to go in, and we might have seen a complete reverse of Game 4. But credit to Edmonton for stepping up. And
100%.
When you lose the way that you lost, and knowing that you've already lost twice at home to this very same team, a very tall task for the Vegas Golden Knights to get back into this one. But for me, we're going to find out the killer instinct of the Edmonton Oilers, whether they're able to get this job done tonight, because finishing off Vegas in 5 games would be massive for them for, hopefully preserving some energy, less tread on the tires, if you will, going into the Western Conference Final and potentially a return trip to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and getting back Ekholm, which would be huge. I picked the Kings in the Edmonton series because Ekholm wasn't there. And part of the reason I picked Vegas in 6 was because Ekholm wasn't there. And now he's going to return. And those guys that have shocked me, like the play of like Klingberg and Emerson, and Nurse hasn't been that bad, and Bouchard saved the series, the prior series. It's when you look at the depth chart on defense, hustling like but they're getting the job done. And you said that was their best. That was, remember last year when they were on that huge run, they had like 30-something games where they gave up 3 goals or less. They looked defensively like they did last season, like where they were really focused on playing defense. They did in Game 4. If they play that way defensively in Game 5, like I said, you're right. It's going to be a short series, and they're going to get rest. Well,
and to your point, we still, outside of the brilliance of the OT winner, we haven't seen Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl haven't gone over and won a game for them. It's Connor Brown, not Connor McDavid.
Yes. Evander Kane making plays. Corey Perry, 40 years old, showing up. I keep going back to Game 5, which was the pivotal game. The overtime game. The Kings were cast. Who scored the game-winning goal for the Oilers in Game 5 of this Kings series? Matthias Janmark. That's what they're getting now. They're getting the depth that everybody thought they don't have depth. Arvidsson's old. Jeff Skinner's a scratch. Colson's no good. Kapanen's never plays. These guys are showing up and doing their jobs, and that's a major, major reason. Because you're right, they haven't not wrecked these series. And the dangerous part is, if they do wind up getting on a run, they're going to win a series in 4 or 5 if they do get on a run.
Well, and that's exactly. I mean, I know there's a lot of Jet fans that are just going, thinking about that, because this is a team that absolutely needs, to get a goal from somebody. I mean, there's a lot of zeros in this season, this series right now for Winnipeg forwards that have not gotten on the score sheet. And listen, they did a much better job at generating chances. I think the high dangers were 7-3 last night.
Yep.
I mentioned the shot attempt, 72-45. But you got to actually make those shots count, and the Jets haven't done a good enough job of that. Dennis, what do you make of this Florida-Toronto series? The Leafs had that great start, but then Florida holds serve. It is now a best of 3. You got a team that has been there twice, are the defending champions, and another one that has a closet full of playoff ghosts. Does this one keep going in Florida's way, or can the home crowd and some home cooking get the Leafs back within one game of moving on to the third round?
Now, let me give you two options. Let's say the Leafs, let's say the Panthers lose tonight. Like, do you think they could go back to Sunrise and win game 6? Yes.
Yes.
Here's the second option. If the Leafs lose tonight, do you think they're going to go to Sunrise and win game 6? No. You never let the champs get off the ground. They had them 2-0. You had a position where the Panthers had to win 4 out of 5. And they've won 2 straight, and now they have all the momentum, and now they're playing that physical game, and now they're hitting guys, even though Evan Rodriguez is going to be out from that hit. Like, I get that, right? No, this is not the one team. And Bob's starting to show up. All the things are trending in the wrong direction, and you got to think there's doubt in the Leafs room. You do. And not for nothing, nobody's going to say it formally, but Austin Matthews is hurt, right? He hasn't scored a goal, I think, in 9 games or something like that. He hasn't been, and great. He's been great defensively, and they have enough talent on that team where he doesn't score goals. They can actually win games because you still have Marner, you still have Nylander. Tavares has had a great season. But with respect to trends, it's the last team you wanted to get off the deck because of their championship, their championship medal, and they know how to win games. And they're playing their style of hockey. So all the pressure's on the Leafs here, Hustler. Because like I said, if the Panthers lose game 5, they can go home, win game 6. And you know what? They'll sign for a game 7 in Toronto. All the pressure's on the Leafs here to get this job done. Because if they lose tonight, I can't fathom going into Sunrise and winning a game 6 the way this series is trending.
Yeah, with you. I will say this, though. I think it's highly likely that whoever wins this game tonight wins the series. Like, if Toronto can get this win, and whether it happens in game 6 or more likely a game 7, I think their success at home and success against the Panthers will bode well for that. Yeah. But I cannot see a scenario, to your point, where the Leafs advance if the Panthers make it 3 straight and have the opportunity to bounce them to the golf course in game 6 in Sunrise.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's just going in the wrong direction. Now, the Leafs are capable, and they have the right coach, and they're playing the right way. They're playing the right way in the playoffs. Like, that's the one thing that the Chief came in, brought stability. So when they're up 3-1 in games, usually, back in the day, it was cookie time. Go get another goal and pad my stats. Not anymore. Chiefs saying, all right, win a game 3-1, win a game 3-2. We're going to play better defensively. Stolar's coming back. If he plays, that's great. They're playing the type of game they need to play in the playoffs to win. It's just, can your big guys put you over? And they haven't so far.
Dennis Bernstein in the fourth periods with us. DB, before we go, kind of seems like there's 3 series that everyone's talking about, and then Washington and Carolina. How deep into it are the Caps right now after this great regular season, facing elimination in the same fashion that the Golden Knights and Jets do with game 5 at home?
Not shocked here, Hustler, because of one reason. This group has never won in the playoffs. Been a really nice regular season, but as we're learning now, the regular season doesn't mean crap. So it might be a situation where this group needs to lose first before they can win in the playoffs. And you've seen it before with Tampa Bay. There's a litany of teams. The Florida Panthers, they lost in the Cup final. It's been a really good season. But again, Hustler, who's not showing up for Washington? How's the second line center playing? Is he a 60-point player in this series, or does he have no goals, or is he taking penalties again? So I just think that it's a really good group of players, but they haven't shown up here offensively. And it's no surprise, because the one thing that Carolina does is play defense, and they're playing their game. And I think the Caps got trapped into playing Carolina Hurricanes hockey, and that's why they're down 1-3. So I'm not shocked. I had the Canes coming out of this series, but you're right with respect to attention from around the league and the fan base and the media. This is the fourth of four, without question. And I think that the winner of this series probably loses the Toronto winner.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the you're a winner, you're a loser until you finally win. That was the Washington Capitals throughout last decade before they finally got over the hump in 2018. What's interesting about that is, really holdovers on this roster. It's Ovechkin and Karlsson. I guess Tom Wilson was on that club, if I'm not mistaken, early on in his career. But other than that, they've completely flipped it over. But maybe those guys can give them a bit of a boost and some more juice heading into this game tonight to keep their series alive. DB, thanks so much for jumping on today. What's cooking over with you, Dave, and the gang at the fourth period?
Well, I'll be probably be in El Segundo, California tomorrow to see the announcement of Kenny Holland coming in as the next Kings general manager.
How about that?
Yeah,
you
that's
surprised at that?
No, because there isn't really a hot GM candidate out there. Like they could have went internally with, Bart Bergevin, who's a senior advisor to Rob Blake, Mark Kennedy, who heads up their amateur scouting. There wasn't really a hot candidate. So look, this is going to be Kenny Holland, 69 years old. He's not going to be managing 10 years from now when he's 79, right? So it's probably a 2 or 3 year deal. And they may, as Elliot Friedman said, they may be grooming a successor, maybe a younger, more energetic. Not that Kenny doesn't have energy. Not surprised, because they need a big move here. They need one more player, like you saw it in the playoffs. Kuzmenko wasn't good enough in the playoffs. What a shock. I wasn't shocked. Like it's the playoffs. It's a little bit different than the regular season. So Kenny will do the job. The question is, couldn't do it for 5 seasons with Connor and Leon. What makes him think he could get this team over and win a championship with lesser talent on there? So it's going to be an interesting hire. They need an aggressive guy, and Kenny certainly will be aggressive because they do need to make another big move to put them in legitimate contender status.
Is Jim Hiller safe once the new general manager
I
gets
think
there?
So. Luke said that he's under contract. Everybody that's under contract for next season, like him, Nelson Emerson, who's assistant GM, Glenn Murray, they're coming back. Now, that might be the case. I'm certainly going to ask Ken that tomorrow again. I think it's a situation where I think he does come back because Jim Hiller had a great 84 games and had a bad 4 games. So you want to throw out the baby with the bathwater? I wouldn't. There was a lot of good coming from this team. It was a 105-point standing team. If you add another offensive player, it's going to be even better. But I will say this. The Kings start 7-13 next year with the expectations of Holland coming in, and they're close. That will not bode good for Jim Hiller. So I would expect a short lease. Usually a GM comes in and gets decides his own GM, but I think Ken's past that. I think whatever stipulations that Luke Robitaille lays down for this job, he'll accept because he wants to get back in the game. He was bored not being a GM for a year. So I think it's a good hire because he's done it before. The question is, has the game passed him by? He's the one who got offer sheeted by the Blues. So it's going to be an interesting hire, but I think given the circumstance of where this team is, I think it's the right hire.
EB, always great having you on the program. Enjoy. It should be a great doubleheader tonight, and I hope that you have a game 6 between Winnipeg and Dallas to talk about on Saturday night.
So do I. Always great being on WST, Hustler. Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Good stuff. There's Dennis Bernstein. Check out the fourth period today for more on the Stanley Cup Playoffs. All right. Hey, let me shout out our friend Sean. Great longtime WSTer and Let's Do It Travel. When you're making travel decisions, especially for things like that 1 week all-inclusive with your precious holidays or something like a destination wedding or, heck, the dream sports trip of your life that you've been trying to cross off the bucket list, a professional in the travel industry can help you in so many ways. Get the best spot, get the best deals, and, of course, stretch your travel dollar further. That's what Sean and Let's Do It Travel can do for you. Give him a follow on Instagram at Let's Do It Travel, WPG. I've already seen some great deals and looks that Sean's found for followers of the Let's Do It Travel, WPG Instagram feed, and the website as well, letsdoittravel.com. When we decided kind of last minute to come down here, in about 20 minutes, he had the lay of the land, great options, including the hotel that we stayed, just about half a mile, if that, from the rink. So make sure to get in touch. Follow at Let's Do It Travel WPG. And the best part about it, Sean's waiving booking fees for WST listeners. So when you get in touch, make sure you tell him that you heard about him, and let's do a travel from Winnipeg Sports Talk. Well, we're back in the whiteout tomorrow, and fingers crossed that whiteout mania will continue beyond tomorrow night. Of course, Princess Auto, founded in Winnipeg, headquartered in Winnipeg, and supporting so many things in Winnipeg and the sports communities, including the Jets, Bombers, with Princess Auto Stadium, and Winnipeg Sports Talk is there for you. Now you can still get your whiteout signs if you were a believer. And while you're there, check out the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West in Brandon. Hop by today or shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Now, I am hoping that we won't be talking about fishing or golf season for a few more weeks around Winnipeg with the Jets in the playoffs. But looking ahead to summer, I know many people are deciding to maybe spend those travel dollars and summer vacations north of the border, and even better in Manitoba. If you're into fishing, check out Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, a world-class, one-of-a-kind fly-in fishing lodge where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg with incredible fishing and even more 5-star hospitality from the Turan family and the Aikens team. Find out more today on the 2025 fishing season at aikenslake.com. Give them a follow on all their socials at Aikens Lake for more of what the Aikens experience is all about. Before we bring Kenny Wiebe in, congratulations to Andrew, Alex, the fellas over at F Apparel, 15 years in the biz, making Winnipeg men look pretty darn sharp. Custom suits, the kings of custom, if you will, starting at just $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, the best selection of menswear accessories around, and great discounts if you and the fellas at the wedding party are looking to get your suits together for the big day. And of course, they've got a great grad promo as well, where for all 2025 grads, buy a suit, get a free shirt and tie. You can find out more in store at 190 Smith Street. Check them out online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPH apparel.com. All right. Well, Ken was down at the rink this afternoon. He'll join us from there in just a moment. We've just heard from head coach Scott Arneal, so we'll look forward to getting Ken's response to last night's game and what the coach had to say today. This segment is brought to you by the Prairie Toyota dealers, who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load, backed by the peace of mind knowing it is a Toyota. And this workhorse will let you take the road less traveled in comfort, room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good it looks? Anywhere it goes, the Toyota Tundra is turning heads. From $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.19% APR with $66.99 down. Hybrid is available. Find out more and visit shoptoyota.ca. All right. Enjoyed last night's Kenny and Rennie, although I would have preferred the topic and the subject matter to be a Jets win. But Kenny joins us now from the podium. This is a very official backdrop today, Weber. What's going on?
It's great to be with you. Doing a little bit of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego here. Last episode snuck into the Jets TV studio, and today I just figured everyone had left. So always wondered what it'd be like to sit behind the podium instead of being the one asking the questions of people at the podium. So just figured we'd mix it up. So I know you've got a great setup there in Dallas also, Huss. Hope you've enjoyed the last few days. Fun environment around American Airlines Center for sure. And yeah, I know you didn't get the result you were looking for, but I'm guessing it was a pretty fun vibe. Got to a ball game, so you've had a pretty good few days here.
I mean, for a trip that was planned at about 9:30 at night on Thursday, it has certainly delivered everything except the wins. And I will turn around. I will be the Ken Wiebe, looking at the man at the podium and ask you the question. Takeaways from these two games in Dallas, because I mean, listen, it certainly wasn't the disaster that the road games in St. Louis were, but as I said to Dustin Nielsen, I mean, there's no loser points in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and despite playing a better brand of hockey, the Jets haven't done enough to find a way to win right now in Dallas, and now are facing elimination with their backs against the wall tomorrow night in the whiteout.
Yeah, so I think what we're finding is winning is hard in the playoffs, and we've talked a lot about calluses this year. Scott Arniel has talked about the calluses and lessons learned, and what the Jets have found right now are they're playing a team with a few more calluses than they have in recent playoff lore here, if you will, having gone to the last two Western Conference finals, but also having the disappointment of being knocked out by the Edmonton Oilers last spring in a series that most people thought that they were the favorite in. So what we've seen since the Jets blanked the Dallas Stars in Game 2 is that Pete DeBoer publicly challenged his players. I mean, he did it in a polite way, but he said they needed offensive production from folks not named Mikko Rantanen. And Huss, since that time, I just did the quick math here, and my pal Sean Reynolds, I think, had the total stat last night. I count 10 members of the Dallas Stars who have checked in with their first point in the last two games. So Rantanen has still been a major factor, and so has Jake Ottinger, obviously, 8 goals allowed in 4 starts in this series. But the Jets have a bunch of guys still looking for their first points in this series, and the Stars just had 10 guys essentially check in on aisle 6. So again, Scott Arniel didn't publicly challenge any players today. He had, kept very calm demeanor and said they'd have to lean on their own lessons. But I mean, the facts are pretty simple, Huss. The Jets need more from everyone. But much like the Stars responded after being shut out, Jets weren't shut out, but they only have 3 goals in the last 2 games. They're going to need some offense from the primary producers, but also the secondary producers. Huss, we talked all first round about goals from David Gustafsson and Jared Anderson-Dolan on the fourth line. But we haven't been talking about those goals in this series. And again, it's not just one player or another. I was just doing the rundown here for the story I'm writing for the paper, Huss. I mean, Brandon Tanev, no goals in 22 games. I think I've got Mason Appleton for no goals in 18 games. But Appleton has 7 assists, Huss. If I had told you that Mason Appleton would be third in Jets scoring through 11 games of the playoffs, some folks in your chat room would be not disbelief. That's not the right word, but again, they need more is what I'm trying to say. I think that those players know enough to know that they need more. But again, the Jets aren't going all snake charmer to find offense. They have to be structurally sound. For a good chunk of Game 4, they were structurally sound. A couple breakdowns, yes. 2-on-1 rush. Nino Niederreiter did not get the puck deep. And Huss, I just put it this way. I was talking with somebody else today. When Niederreiter doesn't get the puck deep because the puck rolls off his stick, it doesn't end up on the stick of someone who's had no points in the playoffs and turns a scoring chance into nothing. It got into the hands of Mikko Rantanen, who turned the puck the other direction and had a 2-on-1 with Mikael Granlund, who picked a pretty wild time for a hat trick, right? For a guy who had been super quiet in the 2 games here in Winnipeg. Granlund had 2 apples in Game 3 and a hat trick in Game 4. So Jets are going to have to need their version of that, whether that's Gabe Vilardi, potentially going back on the top line, and getting back to the pace he was at before a quiet finish to the regular season and the injury, or if it's someone on the fourth line like Morgan Barron coming up with a big goal, or if it's the power play delivering outside of going 1 for 16. Somebody has to step up and fill the offensive vacuum here. But at the same time, the Jets can't open things up in order to do so. So we've talked all year about the Jets' biggest strengths. That's been their depth. That's been their ability to laser focus in on one task. The Jets' task is super simple now, Huss. It's win or go home territory. They can't think about win or go home in three separate scenarios. They need to think about it in Game 5 and 5 alone. They'll do their review, their move on if they happen to win the game. But right now, they can't think of how daunting the task is. They just need to win one hockey game, and they have a pretty secure template on how to get that done. But Huss, outside of Game 2, the Jets haven't had a close to 60-minute effort in terms of when their structure is going at the same time as their offensive generation. And that's one of the reasons they're down. Like you said, Huss, 72 shot attempts yesterday. That's plenty. They had 7 high danger chances at 5-on-5. That would have been enough if Jake Ottinger hadn't only allowed 1 goal from a sharp angle that he should have had, but he didn't let it fluster him, right? So Jets have also lost the special teams battle too many times in this series, and it's part of the reason why they're on the brink of elimination here.
The special teams has been a disaster. We'll get to that in a minute, but you mentioned Ottinger. I'll be honest, I was surprised. I think Murat dug up these numbers, and Hellebuck's 5-on-5 save percentage is in excess of .920. But the results are what they are, and I guess it doesn't really matter whether it's a 5-on-4 or whether it's 5-on-5. You got to make the stops that you should make, and then a few. I described it as 2 steps or 1 step, a big step forward in game number 2 for Hellebuck, but a step back here in Dallas. I mean, thoughts on his play last night and really in both of these games in Dallas, and the fact that Jake Ottinger is winning this goaltending battle right now, and that's maybe the reason why it's 3-1.
Well, Huss, I mean, you love the theatrics in both barns, right? I mean, you got the U.S. backup going in Winnipeg, and you have an Otters better in Dallas. So there's obvious engagement, which makes a series fun. But for Hellebuck, in a series that has so slim a margin for error, you can't allow the first goal to happen from just outside the top of the circle. I know he described it as a perfect shot, and yes, maybe the angle changed slightly because the Granlund stick hits Pionks and doesn't have a full finish on it. But that's one he's got to have, Huss. And I don't really fault him. Some folks saying, "Oh, he's got to have the 2-on-1." I mean, go back and look at it. That's bar down special. Granlund changes the stick angle on both of the first 2. On the third one, I looked back on it a little bit in real time. I didn't love it based on where it came from, Huss. It's a blistering one-timer. It's from the hash marks on the boards. But the only reason that's available to him, Huss, is because Heiskanen makes such an incredible head fake. He freezes Hellebuck, and Hellebuck's not able to push across and get his body over to make the save there. So again, I'm not absolving him for the first one that he allowed. What I am saying is that each goalie let in one that they'd like to have. The difference is the Jets didn't convert or bear down on their chances, and Dallas did, right? This is simple. Kyle Connor had 2 point-blank shots. And again, I'm not blaming Kyle Connor, but the most dangerous player on the Jets, over the course of the season was Kyle Connor. Kyle Connor had 2 glorious chances on his stick to one of them was for surely to tie the game, and the other one was still in a situation where the Jets were right there. So Jake Ottinger made an incredible pad save on the first one. Now, you could also argue that Kyle had a little bit more net than maybe he expected to have, and if he raises it, it's a goal. But Ottinger still made a ridiculous save. And on the breakaway, the shorthanded breakaway, yes, it's definitely slashing on Miro Heiskanen, Huss. But I'm going to say to you what I've said to a lot of people, that, how the heck can that not be called? Well, I was watching the game closely at home on the television. I didn't notice the slash on Heiskanen, and I was just watching the shot, and I couldn't believe that Otter got his pad on that one either. So, the difference was that in the game, Jets didn't bury enough of their chances. The Stars did. I would say this: if the Jets play as structurally sound a game as they did in Game 4, they will put themselves in a good chance to win, provided they don't lose the special teams battle 2-0, and they don't have the second best goaltender. And again, I'm not here to say Hellebuck is costing the Jets the series. That's not it. He's part of the Jets, and he's part of the Jets program that needs to be better. He has been better at home, 902 at home, compared to some tough stats on the road. But right now, Jake Ottinger's not giving up a whole lot. So that means Connor Hellebuck can't afford to give up much. The Jets need to be very good defensively, and they've got to clean up the areas that have not been operating at peak efficiency, which is what we saw from the Jets for so much of the year. It was one of the reasons why they not only held off the Stars, but beat them by 10 points for top spot in the Central and the West and the President's Trophy, even though there was a late push from them. So I think the other thing, Huss, too, 3-game winning streaks. Well, this Jets team won 8 in a row to start the year. After their first loss, they won 7 in a row. Down the stretch, they won 11 in a row. So is it a daunting process or task or ask? Yes. But the Jets have put together winning streaks before, but now they're trying to do it against a team that has not lost 2 consecutive games out of the 11 they've played in these Stanley Cup playoffs, and against a team that also has Stanley Cup aspirations and has been to the conference final on 2 previous occasions. So it's a tougher ask, but the Jets know what they have to look like in order to try to make that task a little less daunting by winning Game 5.
Kenny, speaking of the way that they look, I don't know about you, but like I'm sitting in the building and, we did the show and we had all the reports from the skate and had the guys on and everything looked like it was the same lineup. And then all of a sudden I see, there's Luke Schenn, Alex Iafallo's with Scheifele and Connor.
Yep.
Oh, wait, now Ehlers is playing with Lowry and Velarde. Well, Appleton's on the 4th line.
Right.
Everything got shaken up. Take us back, and maybe Arneal expanded on this a little bit more. Was it the little cloak and dagger playoffs that you don't show your cards until you absolutely have to? And then thoughts on how those lines looked once they were put together for the 60 minutes last night.
Yeah, so we know that we know that Scott Arneal worked with Randy Carlyle, who was one of the kings of cloak and dagger. And again, I'm not just saying it's Randy's influence, and Scott worked with a lot of other great coaches who have used similar methods. And you understand about the not wanting to show the cards situation. In terms of how it transpired and how it looked, the Jets generated plenty. I don't mind what I saw. I would say the only thing, what was behind it is simple. And I understand what Blake Wheeler said on the telecast and, questioning the decision. Blake's a guy who got to play with Mark Scheifele most of his time in Winnipeg. So it's natural that he would have said that. But part of the reasoning, Huss, is this. Gabe Velarde has had 1 goal in his last 14 regular season games before he got hurt. And he's had 1 goal in the 6 games that he's had since he's returned. So I think Gabe is improving every day, but asking a guy to come into a series in the playoffs after not playing down the stretch and expecting him to be in peak form is asking a lot. So Iafallo also helps in the defensive matchup game. And what we saw from Pete DeBoer with last change is that he wanted Hintz or Johnston and Rantanen against Mark Scheifele. So that's why Iafallo was with those guys. In terms of Velarde, I liked Velarde with Lowry. They've had some nice time together before. I like Lowry with Ehlers. We know that Nemesnikov and Niederreiter have some chemistry, and also Cole Perfetti has chemistry with them. What I would say right now, though, Huss, Morgan Barron is someone that I wouldn't mind a flip-flop of Barron and Nemesnikov in that situation. Obviously, Nemesnikov still has a little bit more offensive instincts, if you will. But I think Barron's the kind of guy that with his body type can get a little bit more going with his physical nature, even though Nemesnikov plays incredibly hard at his size. But that would be the only thing that I would maybe look at going to. But I also think that it's most likely that Arneal will either go back to the identity line or keep Ehlers with Lowry and go back to having those guys go up against Hintz in the home games, much like they did in games 1 and 2. But I didn't mind the adjustments. But again, the Jets are looking to get some additional offense. I don't think it was as much full blender as some people viewed it as. But again, I liked a lot of what they generated. But ultimately, you have to deliver on process-wise. It was fine. But in order to get results, you got to get a better finish, I guess, if you will. But I'll be curious to see how they go. I like the move, inserting Luke Schenn on the back end. I thought he played a steady game. I think 4 hits for him. That third pairing was steady. Unfortunate for Hayden Fleury. Obviously, it was a follow-through, Huss, but the reason it was not a uncalled follow-through is because he lost control of the puck, which, again, I know there's some gray area there, and I know that the rules and gray area have not been treating the Winnipeg Jets fandom super well here in the last couple of outings. But as Scott Arneal pointed out, it was called correctly based on the fact that Hayden Fleury lost control of the puck. If he has control of the puck cleanly, and that's a backhand that rides up the stick of Hintz and catches him in the chops, then no, it's not a penalty. But because he lost possession in that brief moment of time, it becomes a penalty. And, the tough news for the Jets in that scenario, they killed off 3 minutes and 57 seconds but the goal still happened with 3 seconds remaining, and it ended up being a bit of a backbreaker. So anyways, I expect Hayden Fleury to stay in the lineup. That's just an unlucky play. That's not a bad play or a reason why Scott Arniel would go to the bullpen. And again, some folks may be calling for more offense, but to me, Luke Schenn played his best game of the St. Louis series when the Jets were facing elimination in Game 7. I thought he was steady in Game 4, and I would keep Luke Schenn in on the third pairing with Hayden Fleury if I were Dean Chenoweth or Scott Arniel. Though obviously I'm not, but I mean, you asked me about the lineup. That's sort of where I see it going. I don't necessarily think there is an insertion of a David Gustafson or Jared Anderson-Dolan, even though those guys did a good job in round 1 when they were in. I think the Jets will roll with the 12 forwards that they had in Game 4 as well, Huss.
Yeah, I'm with you. Listen, I called yesterday. I said I was hoping for a big step-up game from Nikolai Ehlers, and I thought we saw that. I thought he was way more dangerous in game number 4.
Absolutely.
He was not particularly good, to be frank, in game number 3, coming off in 2-goal, 1-assist performance in number 2. So they got that. And listen, I've got a lot of time for your suggestion of a swap of Nemesnikov and Barron in that, to me, that line. And part of the reason why I don't think they'll maybe go back to the identity line is that, to be honest, I'm not sure Nino Niederreiter has done enough in this series of a positive tone to warrant that sort of ice time and responsibility. I mean, not only has there not really been the offense there, but he's been guilty of a few really careless penalties. And his penalty yesterday was unfortunate. It didn't burn them. The Dylan DeMello one, I mean, listen, I got a lot of time for Dylan DeMello. I have no idea what he was doing there. But when you're getting smoked in the special teams battle the way the Jets are right now, you can't be careless like that. And I can't imagine that what we saw at least last night and really over these last couple games from Nino is putting him top of mind to go back to that, unless it's just straight up, we've done this all year. You guys can play together. Go out there and do what we've seen all year long with your backs against the wall.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that we would see maybe Lowry, Ehlers, and maybe Iafallo maybe being asked if they're going back to Velarde on the top line. Maybe you see that, and Appleton went down on the 4th, and again, the Jets had a 3-on-1 where they didn't get a shot on goal, Huss. It was a situation where the pass was a little bit, I know a lot of folks are blaming Mason Appleton.
Dude, that was a terrible
that
pass.
Was a crispy, it was in the feet. It was a crispy grenade in the feet. It was just a little bit rushed. That agreed. That's not on Appleton. Barron's got to make a better pass in that situation. But yeah, again, 4th line had 2 goals in the first round, Huss. I don't have them with any so far by my count in this round. And again, nobody's asking the Jets to carry a 4th line to carry them and into a Game 6. But if they got one to chip in, Huss, we saw it in 2018. Brandon Tanev's the kind of guy that can come up with the big goal, whether it's a shorty or something wild around the play with his Tasmanian devil style of play. But right now, that 4th line has not been as dangerous. And hey, Morgan Barron flat out said it, Huss, after Game 3. Once they got finished talking about Skategate, I think the 4th line was on for at least 1 and maybe even 2 goals in that game. So that was too many also. So
what did you think of them yesterday? I thought Tanev was actually everywhere. I mean, he was really engaged.
Involved,
and to be honest, Morgan Barron, listen, they didn't score. So, I mean, again, you don't really have anything to show for it. But for a 4th line to play, I mean, there was a lot of times where that puck was in dangerous areas in and around Jake Ottinger. Yep. And I really felt that Tanev was doing a lot of ancillary things, but I thought Morgan Barron brought his A game and was very effective. And this is why I'm riding with you on that. I would be very much open to seeing a swap of Barron and Nemesnikov in those bottom 2 lines.
And again, it's not a knock on Nemesnikov, Huss. It's Nemesnikov is comfortable playing on any line, and he will play the same way and be an effective player. But the issue for Vlad Nemesnikov, Huss, is this. He has 1 shot on goal in 4 games since he had the second goal, or the first of 2 6-on-5 goals in Game 7. He's just been a little bit quiet offensively. And again, it's not just about goals equals contributions in a positive manner. He does a lot of other things, but in a series where that line, I would just put it this way. The Matt Duchene line is vulnerable for the Dallas Stars. Matt Duchene has 1 assist in the series. Ben has 1 assist in the series. It came in game 3 when he was changed out onto the other line for Mason Marchment. So to me, the Nemestikov line or whoever is at center in it has to win that matchup against Matt Duchene's line when they're out there against them. And just sort of closing the book on the chapter of the fourth line, the problem for the Jets' fourth line is that in the first round, they were going up against Radek Faksa, Toropchenko, and Nathan Walker. This round, whether it's 11-7 with Heiskanen returning or it's Pete DeBoer looking for extra ice time, that fourth line has often included Mikko Rantanen. So guess what? It's harder to score against a guy like Mikko Rantanen, who is on a ridiculous offensive run here, especially when he's being given those extra fourth line shifts in the game. So anyways, the Jets got to win a few more of their individual matchups. The other thing we know too, like Neil Pionk and Josh Morrissey are 2 offensive play drivers from the back end. Morrissey's dance along the line, and Huss, you're in the building for it. That play he makes to Niederreiter where he walks around Colin Blackwell.
Incredible.
This is 4D chess activity from Josh Morrissey. But to me, he's doing an excellent job of defending Huss. The one thing that doesn't end up on the score sheet yesterday, Morrissey's got his second box out of the series that prevents a goal. Yes, Dylan DeMello gets it out of trouble, but Morrissey's box out on Mikko Rantanen was as good or almost better than the one on Wyatt Johnston in game 2 to preserve the shutout. The only difference is Morrissey cleared that one out himself with his own hand. So his defensive play has been excellent. But the one thing about the Jets is when they're not scoring as often, they need guys like Morrissey and Pionk to help drive the offensive play. And again, I'm not knocking those guys. It's a tough series. There's not much room available. But because they're such outstanding players, they need to find a way, I think, to elevate a little bit offensively to go with the defense, even though, again, that task of going up against Mikko Rantanen is an incredibly tough job to begin with. It's going to probably take away some of the offense. But that's an area where the Jets can also maybe get a little bit more involved. And especially now we're expecting it to be Pionk and Sandberg against Rantanen. That should allow Josh Morrissey a little bit more room to operate and maneuver offense and drive play the way that he has over the course of the year, which is why he once again should be in the top 5 of Norris Trophy voting.
Kenny, one more before we go. And it was funny you mentioned Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. I was giving it to DeMello for a bad penalty that, kind of led to that first power play that ended up in the back of the net, and then Nino being a little careless. No one's taken dumber penalties and worse penalties than Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, who ironically have been the quote-unquote leaders of the Dallas Stars. Now, it hasn't burned them. They're up 3-1. The biggest reason of that is the Winnipeg Jet power play has gone ice cold right now. What can this group do? What do you see, and what do they need to do to get back to any resemblance of, never mind the number 1 team, how about a midway pack? Just getting some results with the man advantage, because that's been a massive factor in the series.
Yeah, huge, Huss. 1 for 16. Let's also not forget the Ehlers goal yesterday comes seconds after the power. That's like a power play goal because the player's not in the play. It doesn't go in the sheet as one, but it is essentially a power play goal.
Even if you credit that one, it still hasn't
it's still only 2.
Series.
No, for sure. And again, the other one, Perfetti's non-goal in St. Louis is a power play marker also. But again, even if you are giving the one yesterday as close to a power play goal, it's still only 2 for 16 for a group that operated at nearly 30% or higher for the bulk of the year. It's simple. There have been some games where they've had great looks. Great looks doesn't cut it, Huss. We've talked about the statistical oddity for weeks and months, and I finally asked Gardner Neal about it today, and I just thought his perspective is interesting. As a guy who was with Washington and saw how teams tried to take away Alex Ovechkin, I wondered about his thoughts about Kyle Connor not having a power play goal since December 23rd. And he still had 9 in the year, which is an exceptional number. But Huss, it's 56 games for Kyle Connor without a power play goal. This is one of the most prolific scorers in the NHL. it's wild that he hasn't had one go in off his pants or something during that span of time. And yes, Binnington makes the crazy backdoor save, but if Kyle's not scoring, he's got to find lanes for others. And Huss, quite frankly, when you have a weapon like Kyle Connor, you got to find him ways to get the puck. We know that Connor had the great setup for the Cole Perfetti redirection in Game 7. The Jets got to do a better job of finding better lanes for Connor if they're going to take away the one-timer, or they've got to find other guys getting open if Kyle Connor is being taken away by the opponent. But again, I personally, Huss, don't remember a time where Kyle Connor has gone 56 games without a power play goal in any of his tenure with the Jets, including...
It's inconceivable.
It's bizarro land, banana land, whatever you want to call it. But let's put it this way. If they don't find a way to solve that before Game 57, it's going to be tough for them. You're riding the lightning if that's not the case. If he doesn't get one before the playoffs are over, you're putting a lot of stress on the 4 other guys on the power play. But that's the beauty of the Jets power play, Huss. They have 5, very good weapons on the power play, but they need to start producing the way that they were for the bulk of the year when they were the clear-cut number 1 in the NHL. And again, we know they haven't been since 4 Nations, but they have to find a way. They got to find a formula. They got to go back to the, attack mentality. We heard it all year long, Huss. Attack mentality. That means getting to the net better. That means finding retrievals. That means getting more lanes, one-timers, more dangerous options. Because when the penalty kill is as aggressive as the Stars have been, if you can complete those 2 passes, you should have a pretty clean grade A look available to you. And right now the Jets aren't burying enough of those grade A looks, and they got to create more of them if they want to keep their season alive.
Kenny, great stuff, great background. Love the analysis. Awesome show last night. Here, hopefully you've got many more opportunities to do K&R this year and not just tomorrow night. Thanks for doing this, and we will look forward to seeing you when I am back in the PEG tomorrow for Game 5.
Yep, safe travels. Hope that American Airlines flight worked out well, and that you enjoy the last few hours in the Big D there. Thanks for having me. Have a great week, and enjoy Game 5. Cheers,
right on,
man.
Ken. Thanks so much. All right, there's Ken Wiebe. All right, I'm looking forward to getting away from hockey for a minute, although we will quickly touch on these games tonight with Coolbet lines, because we got a special Coolbet segment coming up where Pat Gregoire and I are going to dive into the PGA Championship, and we've got a lot of great stuff cooking with Pat and Coolbet on the WST channel as we move forward. But I did see Yin Vivian. Love the fan feedback in the chat. Huss may as well just stay in Dallas for Game 6. I like that way you're thinking, Yen. But hey, the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray is, can the Jets come back in this series? And Remis did a poll. So let's get to the fan feedback for Fans First, your number 1 spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. Fans First features no fees, period. So what you see is what you pay, not a penny more. And it has quickly become the favorite spot for Winnipeggers and season ticket holders to move tickets that they're unable to use themselves, with quick payment the next business day transferred into your account. All right, what we've got here, yes, 3 straight wins coming, is 31%. Maybe if Hellebuck goes into God mode, 31%. No shot is 25%, and not with this power play is 12% right now. So you can keep your thoughts coming in. Remus just fired up another poll in the chat. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First, by fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. Hey, quickly, condolences to our pal T. Kona Pauly. Saw that message in the chat. Pauly, we're feeling for you. And you got support from everybody here on both sides of the chat here at Winnipeg Sports Talk. I do want to shout out our friends over at Royal Sports, the Whiteout headquarters in Winnipeg. And again, we'll be crossing our fingers that they'll continue to have that section up well into next week and beyond. But when it comes to Jets gear, Bomber gear, your favorite teams in the NHL, Royal has it all. Not to mention bikes coming in by the day, soccer, baseball, softball, tennis, everything to take advantage of the prime time of spring and summer coming up. Pop into Royal Sports today, 750 Pembina Highway And make sure to check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Now, White will be crazy tomorrow. They did put out, it's based on what the weather is expected to be, some special guidelines for folks that are coming in with potentially getting a bit wet outside. So make sure to check the website for that. But hey, maybe the next best place to be is your local Boston Pizza. Scarfing down that amazing BP playoff menu with the Wingman Pizza, the Triple Pep Pizza, the Canadian All-Star Poutine, and, of course, the Scoville Showdown for you crazies that love the really hot wings. The game will be on. Boston Pizza Jets pick-a-player contest at all locations. So tomorrow night, heck, for tonight with a great doubleheader that we're going to get to with Pat Gregoire in just a second, make that your choice. Boston Pizza, your playoff headquarters. You can always order online at bostonpizza.com. All right, just before we bring Patty in, I think everyone maybe needed a beer after that game last night. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
Day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, to get to tonight's Coolbet lines and then dive into the PGA Championship, let's welcome in our pal Pat Gregoire from Coolbet.com. Patty, it is great to have you on the program. We've got our backs against the wall here in the peg in this series. Before we get to the PGA Championship, which I think we're all looking forward to, there's way less stress involved. How are you and the Leafers hanging in 2-2? To me, I said this to a friend earlier today, it really feels like I believe that the winner of Game 5 probably wins this series. Not necessarily that it doesn't come back to Toronto for Game 7, but where are you at right now with the Leafs before we look at what the lines are if you want to sprinkle on the game?
I think your pulse of Leafs Nation is pretty spot on. I think it's a little bit of nervous energy. I think if you're right, if they lose, it's Panic City, population 416, Toronto, because I just do feel that if you go back to Florida after the ghosts of Game 3, where probably the Leafs deserve to win, and then when you look at Game 4, where they had absolutely no business, probably their second worst game of the playoffs, where Joseph Woll was actually fantastic. If you lose 3 straight, I think it's absolute trouble for this group. But we saw what happened after they lost a tight one in if they lost a tight one to Ottawa in overtime. Then the next game, absolute stinker. And then they followed up with a series clincher, a really strong 60-minute effort from the back end and of the forwards as well. So maybe they get that same pushback here. Definitely a different opponent going up against Florida, comparing it to Ottawa, but we'll certainly see maybe a couple of days off help some of the bumps and bruises some of these guys have. But I think the question might be better suited after 60 tonight, how Leafs Nation is feeling, because I agree. I think if Toronto wins, I don't necessarily think that they're going to be able to get it done maybe in 6, but I definitely feel a little bit better that if they're going in to Florida with a chance to clinch, if it goes to 7, I don't think people are going to be feeling great, but they'll definitely be feeling better than they would going to Florida down 1.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it'll feel a lot like the Jets and St. Louis series. I mean, where home teams have just been holding serve. Reem, if you can, just pull up the hockey lines for tonight, if you could. Just want to take a quick look at this Toronto-Florida game. And then, of course, we've got Edmonton and Vegas. Like I said to Dennis Bernstein a little earlier today, I really do think that we're going to see what sort of killer instinct the Edmonton Oilers have in them. Reem, it's a little small there. You want to just read them out what the money line is for the Panthers Leafs?
I got them. I've got them here, Huss.
Oh,
it's
so
Panthers minus 139. The Leafs home dogs at plus 118.
Wow.
You can get the Panthers minus 1.5 at plus 170 if you think that. The puck line for the Leafs minus 213. So yeah, the books clearly think that Florida's going to ride this momentum, win 3 straight. So if you do think Toronto can get it done, you're definitely getting a pretty strong number. And to be quite honest, minus 139, probably if you're feeling confident about this Florida group, definitely not too much juice that you're going to have to lay for them to get it done on the road.
I backed the Leafs in both of the first 2 home games at plus money, and it came through. And then what do we have for Edmonton, Vegas?
Edmonton, Vegas, Golden Knights, minus 122. You're getting the Oilers at plus 103 on the money line. So if you think that they do have that killer instinct, can go down to Vegas, end this thing, you're getting plus money on an Edmonton Oilers team that just seems like, I don't want to call them team of destiny vibes, because this is a team that like went on a deep run, but for whatever reason, whether it's just the fact that they have 2 of the best players on the planet, they're finding ways to win. Whether they play great, play bad, they're just digging themselves out of a hole. And to be quite honest, after that gut punch of a loss, Skinner out of his net, Leon Draisaitl putting it his own net, buzzer beater, for a team to bounce back and have that resilience and that impressive of a performance, I got to give that team a lot of credit.
All right. Well, listen, I think I'm going to ride with both Canadian teams tonight. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was something in the combo cards for both the Oilers and the Leafs coming up together. And if not, throw it in there. A little ride with Huss. We'll raise our, we'll wave the maple leaf and see if both of those Canadian teams can get big wins tonight. But Patty, listen, we're going to be doing this bigger and better as we move forward for the golf majors, for NFL football, for of course, a great pick segment that we're going to be having coming up with CFL 110 with myself and Jeff Hamilton. But there's nothing you and I like chopping up more than the majors, and we've got a big one. Quail Hollow, the PGA, going for the Wanamaker, defending champion Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy coming in on the heater of the Players and the Masters win. Scotty Scheffler, hometown guy here in Dallas, who just nuked the entire field at the Byron Nelson. And of course, Bryson DeChambeau coming off winning on Live and a great performance in the Masters as well. This is going to be a really, really fun weekend. But before we get to the weekend, we can get in on the lines for this. And, you can maybe just give us a quick rundown. You've got those super elites at the top. I've basically been seeing like McIlroy and Scheffler have been priced almost evenly. Bryson just afterwards, and then a group. And we'll talk about this more, but it does seem like I'd be shocked if there wasn't a very familiar name holding that trophy at the end of the week. But give us a quick rundown of how the outrights are looking for these players, these PGA and some Live stars, to win the second major of the year.
Yeah, when this opened up, you're right. I think it was plus 450 for both Rory and Scotty at the top. Now Scheffler is down to plus 400. Rory's at plus 450. And at the start of the week, which I know a lot of people got on it, I got on it, 14-1 for Bryson DeChambeau, then dropped to 12-1, to 10-1, 9-1, 850-1, now 8-1, all the way down to 8-1. But I'll be honest, I think he should be priced closer to what Rory and Scotty is. So if you haven't got your bet in on Bryson yet, plus 800 still seems like this guy should be a lot closer than Scheffler and Rory. I think if this guy's playing on the PGA Tour, we're talking about the big 3 instead of the big 2. Just the fact that we don't see this guy because he's playing on Live. The only time we see him is at the majors. If you randomly find a Live stream, wherever that may be, or if you're watching Donald Trump or whoever he's playing scramble golf with on his YouTube channel. I really do feel that it's that way. So the next tier after that, Justin Thomas on his own at 16-1. That number has dropped a little bit as well. Then you've got Jon Rahm 22-1 with Xander Schauffele, the defending champ, 22-1. Ludwig Oberg, who has been struggling, but everyone knows that this guy can go off at any moment, especially at this golf course. 25-1, along with Colin Morikawa at 25-1. Joachim Niemann, another Live golfer, 33-1. And then rounding things off at 40-1, you have Cantlay, Fleetwood, and Hideki Matsuyama.
All right, listen, I'll be honest. I'm kind of surprised. Like, after these guys opened up at 5, I'm surprised that it's Scheffler that's got more heat coming in when it comes to people putting tickets to than Rory McIlroy. Because to me, Rory is the pick here. I mean, not only do I think he's the pick because he's playing at the highest level right now, he's got the wins, we talked about this after he won the Masters. The weight off of his shoulders, the demons between the ears, the fact that he got that done, I think open up. Listen, by the numbers and the way he's played, he's probably short 2 or 3 majors over the course of the last few years that just for whatever reason didn't happen. I'm very keen on them happening and potentially happening this year. In fact, I'll go on the record saying I'd be surprised if he doesn't win at least one more major. And I'm not sure there's a better place than a course that he has absolutely dominated at Quail Hollow for it to happen. So my outright, and I don't normally take these short numbers, but I love Rory McIlroy in this situation. And I think we're going to see kind of a new era of Rory after this 10-year drought without majors, where he might be looking a lot like the young kid that was winning 4 in a matter of a couple of years when he was really establishing himself as one of the preeminent stars on the tour. I'm also going to be putting something on Ludwig. I said, and listen, we're big fans. He is so complete. He's also a guy, and I should preface this, driving, shots gained off the tee, driving distance is so important at this course, which is probably one of the reasons where you can pretty much draw a line at a certain point down that odds board and forget about most of the guys below when it comes to it. It's been a prior major winner that's won 6 of the last 7 of the PGA Championships, or I guess 5 of the last 7, and the other was Xander, who was second every year and you knew was about to break out. I do want to be on Ludwig when he gets his first one, and I think he's very live here. One of the few guys that I think has the all-around game and the qualities of what you need at Quail Hollow to hang with a Bryson, with the Scotty Scheffler, and the guy that I think is going to be at the top of the board. So those, I think, are my 2 favorite plays. Many of the other plays I think I have are more kind of in other groups, top 10s, top 20s. Sure. When it comes to outrights, and again, when you're investing at a guy at plus 450, kind of eliminates a lot of the other shots. So I'm focusing on those 2 guys, especially Rory McIlroy. What about you for the outrights?
Well, Huss, first and foremost, really tough to argue that Rory pick at plus 450. And if people are like, 450 for an outright, look in the top corner right there. That's the 30% profit boost. So if you wanted to get a little extra juice on your winnings, Rory at plus 450, definitely not a bad idea. You mentioned all of it. Quail Hollow, 4 times this guy has won. It's remarkable how well he's played here, and he fits it really well. I'm not starting my card there. I might. You might convince me he's going to be on my card somewhere, whether it's an outright or whatever I try to do here. Maybe it's a live bet. Look what we saw out of him with the Masters, a disastrous round 1, and then figured things out. But I'm starting my card off with Bryson DeChambeau. I told you guys that I got him earlier at 14-1. He's now down to 8-1. I'd still bet him at 8-1. In his last 5 majors, he's finished in the top 10 4 times. T5 of the Masters this year, won the U.S. Open, runner-up at the PGA Championship, and then T6 at last year's Masters. He's played this golf course really well. When this was back at the Wells Fargo, finished 4th in 2018 and 9th in 2021. The guy's a true bomber. The guy absolutely bombs it off the tee. His long irons are great. And despite what we saw at Augusta, the guy's putter can get really hot. So I love Bryson, especially at the number I got him at the start of the week at 14-1. At 8-1, that's still some of the better prices that I've seen on Bryson kicking around. Some places you can get him at 7 or 7.5. So I really like Bryson DeChambeau there. A little bit further up the board, this guy's a bit of a Wanamaker Trophy merchant. He's already won twice. He won here. This is a breakthrough spot for him. Justin Thomas. He's been playing unbelievable golf as of late, and a lot of it has been his putter. Sure, he's not the bomber that a Rory or a Bryson or even Ludwig is, but he's still pretty long off the tee, but his long irons are great, and his putter right now can't be stopped. He basically put himself to a victory at the RBC Heritage earlier this year, and then putted his way into a runner-up finish at the Truist last week. So I really like him here. We talked about the big 3 at the top, obviously the 2 short ones at 400 and 450. Then you've got Bryson up after that. I think the next clear cut, number 4, is Justin Thomas. I got him at 20-1 earlier this week. He's now at a 60-1. I would still bet him at that number. And then my last favorite outright before we get into some of our other bets, because I know you and I love them, and I know you especially had a lot of success at the Masters this year with it. Victor Hovland, 45-1. This is a little bit of a shot in the dark, but I don't think the number matches the player. He's got some great course history at Quail Hollow. T3 finish here a couple of years ago. I believe it was the first time he played at this golf course. And he's played really well at PGA Championships. 2 years ago in 2023, finished T2. And even last year, Huss, let's not forget, that was a bad year for Hovland. He really lost his game. His irons were all over the place, yet he still put a great round together and finished solo third. It's a bit of a shot in the dark. I think we're going to be able to tell pretty early and often if Vic Hovland is dialed in. But at 45-1, the player that this guy is and the course history, the course match, I had a hard time not keeping this guy off my card. I love Hovland at 4-1.
Yeah, I'm here for Vic. I'm here for Vic at a number like that. I mean, again, he's a guy that can smash it, off the tee. And when he's dialed in, he really does have a complete game that, you need to win at a place like this. And he's one of the few guys you think about his Ryder Cup experience. I mean, that can, go toe to toe with the top guys. Okay. So there we have our uprights. Now, for the majors, there are so many other markets. I'm going to hit you with a few of my favorites, and then you can hit a few yours. Listen, I'm not betting Bryson to win this tournament. But if you want a piece of Bryson at, I think, a very reasonable number, given the competition, is to be the top live golfer. He has consistently been the best live guy at these majors. He's plus 190 to be the top live. You've got Jon Rahm at plus 375. He, I think, would be the one guy that certainly has the game and the tools to be there. I'm not sure whether he will. I've got way more confidence in Bryson doing it. I mean, and then you go back. I mean, Brooks is a major merchant, but hasn't really been himself this year. I'm not sure about him at 8-1. Neiman, everyone knows he has got the talent at 6-1, but I'm not sure that he's ready, and he really hasn't delivered in the majors, so I'm staying off him. So Bryson DeChambeau at plus 190 for the top live golfer. There is also, if you want to bet Rory at another number, if you're worried about Scottie Scheffler and Bryson, you can get Rory at plus 190 as the top European. Obviously, he'll be the top European if he wins the tournament, and it's really barely less than half the odds of him to win the entire thing as being the top European, and that's beating Rahm, Oberg, Fleetwood, Hatton, Lowry, Vic Hovland on that list, as it were. And, there's a pretty interesting list for that. Now, there's one guy that I have often bet before. He has won this year. His current form coming into this tournament, like in his last two events, hasn't been great. But when he is on, he can drive with the best, has the game, and that is the chef, Minwoo Lee. Now, I'm not betting Minwoo to win the tournament, but I think I'm going to hit him at a top 10. I think I'm going to hit him at a top 20. And I don't mind him at plus 330 for the top Oceania player, which is led by Jason Day, a former PGA winner, at 3-1. Minwoo next at plus 330. But speaking of that 30% profit boost, if you don't want to put it on an outright, I've got one, and this is something that we always usually like to hit, and that is the top Canadian. And listen, Corey Connors has the pedigree, the experience. He is the top ranked Canadian golfer, and I get it why he's the favorite at plus 160. But when you think about this tournament and how crucial it is to be long off the tee and a great driver, I think the value of Taylor Pendrith at plus 320 to be the top Canadian, it might be my favorite bet, frankly, of everything that we're throwing out there right now. So, if you're saving that 30% for maybe something outside of an outright, it's pretty hard to imagine many of the other guys being in. Now, listen, if Pendy if he's not straight or whatever, obviously that can go awry. But I wouldn't at all be surprised. And I think I might actually touch a top 20 or even a top 10 for Taylor Pendrith because of all of the events. This seems to be the one that suits his game the most because of how important it is to be a monster off the tee. So We'll throw a top 20 in for Pendy, but plus 320 for the top Canadian, I think is some great value on the board. I'm going to touch a little Minwoo Lee, and then, as I say, Bryson to be the top live golfer at plus 190. I think considering how his outright has dropped, great value at just south of 2-1.
You know what? It's funny. 2 of the 3 that you just gave out there are on my card. Love the Oceania bet for Minwoo. I think he fits this course really well. Long irons are a little bit concerning for me, but we know how well he can putt. And to be quite honest, I think the conditions here, it could be a little bit soggy. I think Minwoo can definitely have a really great showing, especially when you look at the other guys that he's going up against. I know coming into last week, Jason Day was a bit of a trendy pick, Huss, but he had to withdraw last week because of a sore neck. And I don't think the odds have been adjusted there. I think that's a great number for Minwoo. I like your other pick as well for Bryson. Obviously, if I'm in to win the thing, I love him for top live as well. The one that I really like here, and I don't understand this number, to be quite frank. And it's a major, even if it's an elevated event, if it's a secondary event, and this guy's in the field, I have to bet him. I've kind of gone off him. I feel dirty for it. But Akshay Bhatia, I got to get a piece here. How is he not the favorite to be top lefty? He's plus 300 to be the top lefty. I get it. Bobby Mack plus 275. But when you look at the other guys, it's basically a 2-horse race. Brian Harman's not competing here. The guy is short off the tee. Phil Mickelson, I'm sorry, he's just not there. And then you finish off with McCarty, Garrett Hicko, and Highsmith. Like, I'm sorry. I think Bhatia at 3-1 is super, super great odds here. I know I just talked about Minwoo and the Oceania, so I'm not going for Ryan Fox here to win that group, but Ryan Fox top 20, and I might even sprinkle him first round leader to kind of pick up the heat and the steam that he had off his win at Myrtle Beach after chipping in a playoff. The guy absolutely nukes the ball off the tee. So I'm not going to bet him to win this thing. I don't think he's got the game to close out a major and ride off a victory of a secondary event, but him to lead after the first round, absolutely. To him to come off to a hot start and finish in the top 20 at that great number, I like that as well. So a little bit of a longer shot there. And I already talked about first round leaders. I hit Justin Rose last time out. I got to go back.
I thought that was going to bankrupt the book.
I know so many of us were on it. I know Mayo was on it. I was on it. A lot of folks were on it. So I'm going to go back to it. So Fox, I'm going to sprinkle him down the board. But my favorite one here is friend of the program. We've talked about him a lot. Is Kashmir Keith. He's been on our card a lot, but he hasn't been able to close out. Doesn't matter. At 60-1, we do not need him to close it out. All we need to do is be the leader after day one. Listen to these numbers. He leads at the PGA Tour in first round scoring average after day one. And he's been atop of the leaderboard after day one in 2 of his last 4 starts. And his last 5 opening rounds, his scoring average is 63.6. Kashmir Keith comes guns a-blazing out to start the tournament. Those guns usually start to cool off as the tournament progresses. Like I said, we don't need him to close this thing out. We just need him to be at the top of the leaderboard. So 60-1, a little bit. Let's rekindle that magic that we had with Rose. I think it was around the same number. Actually, I think it was 65-1. So yeah, let's see if we can have that magic and win another first round leader bet.
I will definitely roll with you on that. All right, listen, quickly before we go, is there a Greggy's Golf special already up?
There is. And I have to pull it up real quick. It's an all-time hater bet. You're gonna love the last leg of this one. So it is. Hold on, let me pull it up here. I just don't want to mess this up. But give me 1 second. Okay, here it is. We've got Bryson, top 20. We've got. Hold on. Do we have? There it is up there in the top corner. You can see it here. So we got Bryson top 20, Vic Hovland top 20, and the final leg, Huss, Michael Block to miss the cut.
Yes. That's right. Blocky is in the
Blocky is
in the event. So the Greggy's
Blocky
golf
is
special
back.
is up there. Listen, just on our way out, why don't we put together a little WST combo with our plays for today? Why don't we go Oberg top 20?
Yep.
How about Minwoo top 20?
I'm good with that. I'm great with that.
Why don't we go Oberg and Minwoo top 20? And do we want to add in
Do we JT? JT top?
JT? Let's go JT. JT will be top 20 as well. Oberg,
Okay.
Minwoo, Justin Thomas, top 20s. We'll get that up in the combo cards or the exclusives.
Love it.
And, of course, don't forget, use that 30% profit boost. Whatever your favorite bet is, you want to juice up an upright, do that. I'm going to be using it on Taylor Pendrith, top Canadian, at plus 320. Patty, it's going to be a fun week, and I will definitely be riding with you on Kashmir Keith, first-round leader. I love that pick, and wouldn't that be something to get back-to-back FRLs? Basically, you're completely set after day one, and then playing with house money the rest of the way. Folks, if you haven't played a Coolbet before, what are you waiting for? Use the promo code WST for the for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit, and get them in there before they tee off tomorrow at Quail Hollow. Patty, we'll talk to you this weekend. Thanks for doing this as always, pal.
Thanks, buddy. And remember, Sunday Sweat Club, it will be in the combo cards. We need the Leafs to win tonight as well, and then we need the Jets to come back to life following day. Let's go.
That's right. That's what we like to hear. All right, Patty, thanks again, pal. There's Pat Gregoire from over at Coolbet. Listen, I don't want to fully dive into baseball season just yet with the Jets still in the playoffs, but I cannot wait to get out to the ballpark, and the Winnipeg Goldeyes are back, and the home opener is on Tuesday. They've got a special giveaway with a jersey, a black Goldeyes jersey they're going to be giving out to the first, I believe, 1,500 fans. Full details on the website with all the promotional dates coming up. Of course, 982 base for tickets, goldeyes.com. But baseball season officially begins in the Peg on Tuesday for the Winnipeg Goldeyes home openers. The Fish continue their long road back from Cleburne, Texas to Blue Cross Field after the weekend to get things going. Listen, we're going to be having some real fun with the Breezy Bend golf reports coming up these next couple days as the PGA Championship is underway. All of our golf reports brought to you by Breezy Bend, one of Manitoba's top private courses, and the host of the 2025 Manitoba Open. If you're interested in finding out more on potential membership in the future and getting on the waiting list, talk to Corey Johnson at the club host or find out more online at breezybend.ca. And let's get Remis back in here because we got live racing tonight at Assiniboia Downs, Reem, and you're going to be very impressed. I had a little bit of time before the show, and I am fully locked in with my picks for day number 2. I had to sort of pull it off quickly, just getting onto HPI Bet yesterday, but I've got a much better feeling about today, and I'm in on 5 different races for our $20 bets today. What about you?
I've got 4 races for my bets at the track. Did not go well for me yesterday. Went a big fat 0, but looking forward to getting back at it here. So we're even. We're even.
We are still even. All right. Well, listen, I'll run through mine. And again, live racing tonight, 7:30 at Assiniboia Downs. If you haven't already been, I would highly recommend planning a night, making a night out of it, and if you can get a spot in the clubhouse dining room and take advantage of that incredible prime rib buffet, make that happen. It'll be one of the highlights of your entire summer. Take me my word for it on that. All right, race number 2. I'll just roll through mine, Reem, and then you can rattle off yours. I've got a $4 win bet on number 4, Go Fur. So that's race number 2, 4 to win. I've got the exact same bet in race number 3, $4 to win on Black Tekka. Great name for a horse. I think he's somewhat the favorite or the second favorite. We'll go with $4 on Black Tekka in race number 3. In race number 4, we're going to do a exacta box, a $2 exacta box, so a $4 bet with 1 and 5. Alluring Ali and Sneaky Situation number 5. So a $2 exacta box, $4 bet, 1 and 5 in race number 4. I'm doing a straight up exacta in race number 5. Russian Pearl, number 1, to be in first, and our old favorite Maybella Remis to be in second. So a 1-5 exacta bet. That's a $2 bet. And then the final race number 7, I am going with my triactor of the day. $1 triactor box, so any order. Number 2, No Show, No Call. Number 6, Corridor. And number 8, Slough's Back. That's $6, so that is my 20 for today. We are both tied at 0 so far. I guess mine is 20. Still looking for a big one. What are you cooking up for today's run?
Okay, race 7, I'm on a 1-2-4, a lot of Verve, Freezem, and No Show, No Call. Race 4, 2-6 exacta, Cumberland Falls, Bound for Heaven. Race 5, just picking a straight winner. Horse 7, Awfully Special, sorry, Maybella. And race 2, another exacta, 2-4, Shocking Malice and Gopher. That's my chalk pick of the day. So we'll see how it goes. Just trying to get on the board here tonight, Huss.
Beautiful. Well, a great show today. Thanks to Pat for jumping on, and obviously Ken and DB with the latest on the Winnipeg Jets. I know some people will tell you it's over. It ain't over, people. The whiteout will be rocking tomorrow. The Winnipeg Jets need a win to get this series right back here to Dallas, Texas. I will be beginning the journey back shortly. I'm very envious of my running mates. They, while I did the show, just ran out to the famous Terry Black's barbecue.
Oh,
So I'll be looking forward to report on that. I think there is some barbecue in the airport, so I'll make a point of trying to hit something like that there. But be back late tonight or early tomorrow morning. I think we're going to have Steve Koulias on the show tomorrow. The latest from the rink as we get ready for game number 5. Backs against the wall. No tomorrow if the team doesn't win. And we'll see whether we can get this sucker back for a Saturday game right here in the Lone Star State in Dallas, Texas. Just before we go, thanks to Dennis who joined us, Ken, of course, Pat Gregoire from Coolbet, Remis making it all happen with the clips and whatnot, and a special thanks to my pals, Winnipeg guys, Paul Randall, Dave Kivas, who are doing big things down here in Dallas for the great hospitality at the beautiful Moxie's Uptown. That we did the show the last couple days. It was great to see them. And listen, everything was great about the trip with the exception of the final score in both of these games. So see if they can get another crack at it on Saturday. But first, that means a win tomorrow. We'll tee it up and be all over it at 1 p.m. for a game day edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk tomorrow. Thanks to all of our sponsors for their support of WST and making it happen. Enjoy tonight, everybody, and keep those positive vibes going. We're going to need it tomorrow in the whiteout for Game 5 with the Jets down 3-1 to the Dallas Stars. For Michael Remis, I'm Andrew Paterson. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Back in the peg for Game 5.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.